Welcome, my pack, my tribe, to Howling After Dark. Awesome stuff tonight. In hour one, we're talking all about one of my favorite cryptids, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yeti, Yaren. These are all names for the same thing. Well, sort of. Because Bigfoot is like people. It's as varied as we are. And I've never been shy about my own theories when it comes to Bigfoot. I believe that Bigfoot is not what everyone else seems to think it is. And before we go any further, just want to give a shout out to Reagan and Jeremy, who are in chat right now. Always good to see you guys. Welcome. For those that are listening that may not know, one of the how should I put it? Like the way I've always approached Bigfoot is if it's not a physical thing. The most popular theory is that Bigfoot is like a primate. Basically, it's an animal. And kind of like the missing link or whatever, I guess is what the theory is. And there is a lot of credence to that theory, in the form of physical evidence, you could say. But I've never been the type of person that buys into a theory like that just because it's the most popular one. I believe, and I've said this before on my show, but like I said, this is for those who may not have heard this before. It is my personal belief that Bigfoot is an elemental or some other form of nature spirit that has the ability to fully manifest itself and become basically physical for whatever amount of time. And I think there is a lot of evidence to suggest that I could be right. Because if you think about it in a logical way, how often have people seen Bigfoot, have even tracked Bigfoot, and then suddenly every trace of him is just gone, vanished? That's not really possible. Even your most stealthy of animals, like a cougar, leaves some trace behind. It doesn't just vanish into thin air. It doesn't happen. So that's my personal theory on Bigfoot. But what I find to be interesting is that is like all this physical evidence that's been popping up over like the last year or two, like the whole big thing they did about Bigfoot DNA. I guess it was last year. Um, and like the believers were really excited by it, basically stating that this is going to prove beyond the shadow of a doubt that Bigfoot is real, and it kind of did. The DNA actually came back as uh, well. The first time they ran it, it came back as primate. Um, and then the second time, it came back as uh, not human, but like hominid, basically a very human-like primate. Um, and like it seems like every time they have any kind of DNA evidence, that it comes back different for some reason. And like personally, I think the reason why um, the the proof isn't quite what they expect is because it's not because the technology isn't there. I mean, the technology is definitely there because they have the capability now to um, connect ancestors to specific people through DNA, from bone marrow DNA that's hundreds and hundreds of years old. And you're telling me they can't prove beyond the shadow of a doubt that the DNA in question is specifically Bigfoot. I don't know if I believe that. I think either one of two things is happening. Either the scientific community is so terrified of the reaction of proving that Bigfoot is real, or that they're suppressing it, or, and this is the one I actually believe, the spirit world, the universe, whatever you want to call it, is not allowing it to happen. And I guess it kind of depends on what kind of person you are. Some people are very spiritual, some people aren't. And I happen to be one of those spiritual people that happens to believe that there's a lot more going on than we know. So that's just me. Um, I've always felt like there's more of a spiritual thing to Bigfoot than a physical one. I mean, I've had my own personal experiences with Bigfoot, and it's part of what I wanted to talk about tonight. Probably most recent would be, I guess it was like 2, 3 years ago now. I was with uh, I was with the team I was with before I founded Ghost Paranormal, and we were doing a investigation at Clear Fork Ski Resort, um, which is a place we're trying to get, by the way. Um, but uh, we were doing this investigation there, and Clear Fork Ski Resort, by the way, is like the perfect place if you're all into this stuff, into the cryptozoology, or into the paranormal. And if you're into both, you're definitely going to be loving it because the lodge is in fact haunted. And then the grounds, people have been reporting what they call in that area the Butler Bighead. We found court paperwork and newspaper articles dating all the way back to 1874 of people seeing what they called the Butler Bighead, which is, basically Bigfoot. And so we were doing an investigation there, and I was very interested in the whole Bigfoot angle because I'm an avid ghost hunter, but I'm also very much into the crypto stuff too. Always kind of have been, because to me, you know, like when it comes to spirits with ghosts, I kind of believe that it's already explained. I kind of already believe that you know ghosts are spirits of people that don't want to leave. And I say don't want to leave because I don't believe for a second that the majority of ghosts are trapped. And that's something I've talked about before on the show, also. But I think what interests me so much about the cryptozoology side of things is that it in my mind, in my heart, it's not proven yet, and so it's a mystery, and I love mysteries, and so I did have a personal experience with Bigfoot at this location. We heard howls. Okay, now I really wish I had the audio clip because I would totally play it for you guys because I can't mimic it. I mean, I can mimic a wolf howl or a coyote howl, but there's no way I can do this. There was so much bass in this howl, like wolf and coyote howls are extremely high pitched. Like you can tell that is one of those animals almost immediately, and it kind of like a surprising note on the subject, by the way, that a lot of people don't know is that when a wolf or a coyote howl, it doesn't echo. Wolf, a lot of animal noises actually don't echo. And it's something about the resonance of their their voices, their vocal cords. I don't understand all the science behind that, but it's a fact. They don't howl. That's actually how early settlers used to be able to tell, or uh, not settlers per se, but like a lot of people in the West, let's say, that had uh, a lot of experience with us Indians, when all the fighting was going on. That's how a lot of them could tell that what they were hearing was an Indian and not actually an animal, because our voices echo. Even when we're mimicking something, it'll still echo. And that was the thing about this, is there was so much bass in this howl, in this voice, that it it was unlike any howl I've ever heard before. Except for, the few times that that I've heard something similar from, Bigfoot hunting. But it wasn't quite like this. This was off the scales. It was practically right next to us. It, like, we're on the ski run. There's no snow, so it's all grass and mud at this point. But we're on the ski run about halfway up, and we're probably about in the middle of the ski run, because we're right where the supports for the ski lift are, which would be right about in the middle. And we heard it. We were going downhill, and we heard it off to our left. And then the surprising thing was, we heard another one, probably like a mile away, answering. So we know there's definitely more than one in this place. And so we heard the howl, and then we didn't hear anything for a little while. And then probably like 10 minutes maybe later, we heard this loud sound. It was like a gunshot. And then we hear this tree fall over. And so I took a flashlight and I went and looked, and I had my camera. Well, it wasn't my camera. I didn't have any equipment at that time. I was using one of the other investigators' digital camera. And I went in there, I had the flashlight, and I'm like traditional Native American. I learned to track before I learned how to walk, almost. By the time I was 9, I tracked a cougar over Bear Rock, which is practically impossible. So I know what kind of marks that animals make. And the only thing that could have possibly been in this area big enough to snap a tree in half would be a bear. But the thing is there were claw marks on, like it literally clawed off the bark where the tree was snapped. And those claw marks did not belong to a bear. The reason I know that is because of the size of the striations. Striations being the scratch or claw marks themselves. The size of them was much bigger than a bear, because bear's claws kind of come down into a point. These are like human fingers almost, but you could tell because of the way it shredded that bark right off the tree that they would have been extremely thick, far thicker than any human being I know of. So we're talking about something that does not fit into normal natural habitat of what people think of as normal. So it definitely wasn't a bear, wasn't a wolf, wasn't a mountain lion, wasn't anything like that. And then it was snapped in half clean through. It was like a clean break. And I took a picture of it, and I realized that loud bang that sounded like a gunshot was actually the sound of this thing just pushing this tree over. And it wasn't a small tree. It was like a ponderosa pine. And ponderosa pines don't get really super thick, but they're thick enough. Right? So there was that experience. And then a little bit later, I kind of went off into the little wooded area again because I saw movement out of the corner of my eye. And I went and I took a picture of it. And like I said, the gear wasn't mine, so I didn't actually own any of the pictures that I actually took, which, whatever. But I actually took a picture of what I think was Bigfoot. But it was like so far back into the wood line at night, and it wasn't really like a super clear IR camera, that all you see is kind of like this huge, kind of like vague shadow. But I knew it was there. I was convinced. That's what I consider it a personal experience. So that was probably the most recent one. The first one I ever had was actually while I was camping as a child. I was actually in not the Boy Scouts, but I was in what they call Weeblos, which is kind of like a step down from the actual Boy Scouts, I guess. I think that's how that works. Anyways, we were camping, and there were two of us per tent, and almost everybody in our troop was, like not native. They were like white kids, and there's some Hispanic kids and some black kids, which, it doesn't matter. Kids are kids are kids are kids. But like me and this other kid that I was with, we were both native, and we kind of felt like set apart, I guess. Um, not for any reason other than, we're native and they're basically teaching us stuff we already know by this point. So, we just kind of camped by ourselves and kind of did our own thing. And I remember that this one night in particular, it was the last night before we were, set to go home. And we're actually both sleeping. And then, like, the ground under me, like, vibrated. And I'm thinking, oh, great, there's a bear out there. So I lit up my flashlight and I took a peek and no bear. So I'm like, okay, that's odd because usually, like, when a bear goes into a camp, they don't just simply leave. They'll bat stuff around, and what they're looking for is food, and they make a mess of everything. That's typically what a bear does because they're not concerned about the humans that might be there. They're concerned about food. Like, that is their whole concern. So I could tell it wasn't a bear because it left our tent alone. And that's not normal, but I could tell that it came through our camp. I'm like, okay, whatever. I didn't really think much of it, and I went back to bed. And then I remember the next morning, it was like a big deal because we had found footprints outside of our tent. And I do believe that somebody actually came down and casted those prints. So they may be around somewhere. But it was just, it was amazing stuff. Especially for, like, little 9 or 10 or however the heck old I was, boy. And of course, like, Native Americans have stories about Bigfoot that go back, like, thousands of years. Well, I think it was the Cheyenne or the Lakota. I don't remember. I think it was the Cheyenne referred to them as the fur people or the fur tribe. I think was how they were referred to, because and most natives saw them like that, like they were just another tribe, like we were. They just were different. That's kind of how we saw everybody until we were shown differently. So and other tribes had other names for them, but it all amounted to the same thing. And I think that's kind of what separates us with paranormal as a whole, we come from people that whether we're talking about Bigfoot or ghost or whatever, we just kind of accept it and move on. So I've kind of always felt like that, with Bigfoot, that regardless of whether or not my theory is correct, because at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. Really, the only thing that matters is he's not gonna harm me. They don't really hurt anyone. I mean, yeah, there are claims, but let's be real. A lot of the claims that I've heard, I honestly cannot believe in a million years. For no other reason than the fact that, I know for a fact that a lot of people make claims like that simply because they're trying to get in the newspaper or trying to get attention otherwise. So a lot of those claims, where Bigfoot is being aggressive or even attempting to actually hurt somebody, I don't for a second believe it. So I'm just stating that for the record. Um, Anyways, so what I want to do now is I want to talk about some recent sightings, particularly here in Ohio. This first one actually comes to us from LaGrange, Ohio. It was posted back in January. LaGrange, Ohio, an intensive care nurse snapped a picture of what she believes could be a Sasquatch creature in northeastern Ohio. The photograph released on internet forum The Gear Page by a musician named Gertz claims to be the cousin of the eyewitness was reportedly taken at 2:30 p.m. on January 11th, 2015. She works nights in the ICU, Gertz said. She's really freaked out about it. He added she says could only have been a Sasquatch. The nurse's husband and children says the musician were also startled by the alleged creature. He also claims that he is trying to get family members to collect some possible physical evidence such as footprints, but that, of course, no one wants to go back to the area. And let me see if I can pull up this this photo. I'm gonna go ahead and post this in our chat room. I gotta tell you, just I try and keep an open mind with stuff, but being as like anytime somebody takes a picture of Bigfoot, it's kind of a toss up because I wasn't there, and I take the picture myself, and so it's really hard for me to say, yeah, it's definitely Bigfoot. But I gotta be honest with you, I'm not at all convinced with this picture in particular. I think what that actually is a man, probably in like a hooded parka with gloves on and all that. I don't really see in this picture anything that says beyond the shadow of a doubt that this is a large furry creature, not just, a person in winter clothing. But again, that's just my opinion. I'll leave it to you all to decide for yourselves. So there's that one. There reportedly is Bigfoot activity in and around Shreve Swamp, uh, near Wooster, Ohio. It would actually be considered the Grassman, because it's a swampy area. And that's the kind of stuff Grassman is known for and seems to really like. Cedar Bog, its earliest records, that's also in Ohio. It's kind of in between Logan and Union counties. And it's actually a Bigfoot preserve. They actually put up a fence around it. So they're kind of protected, and it was one of the first Bigfoot preserves in the country. Probably one of the first in the world, actually. Let's see. Now we're actually going to the BFRO website. Let's see. Let me see if there's anything. Wow. So far this year, there have been 10 reported sightings right here in Summit County. Now, they classify these under different classifications, A, B, and C. A is like a very strong report, really, really credible, and usually visual is a Class A. Class B is they might have caught a glimpse of something, they probably heard something, and that's about it. And then Class C is like they didn't hear or see anything, but they've seen remnants of its passing through the area, like a piece of hair or a footprint. And so these are some of the reports going all the way back to 1978, right here in Summit County. September of 1978, a 9-year-old playing hide and seek comes face to face with a small ape-like creature, what sounds like a juvenile Bigfoot. July of 1995, a Class A case, possible confrontation with hikers at night in Cuyahoga Valley National Park, which is not at all far from where I live, by the way. Um, March of 95. This one's a Class B, a road crossing setting outside Cleveland, State Route 82 near the CVRA, whatever the CVRA is. September of 98, Class A, young teenager has two sightings less than 2 months apart in a ravine behind her home. July of 2005, Class B, motorist sees hairy biped crossing road by Cuyahoga Valley National Park. A lot of these seem to be centered around Cuyahoga Valley National Park. So if you're at all interested in Bigfoot and you're in our area, I guess you know where to go. Uh, September 2005, Class A. A man recalls early evening sighting near Brandywine Ski Resort. Heard of that place? That's a place we were trying to get, I think, for a while, too. December 2007, Class B. Motorist has a possible brief daylight sighting in the Cuyahoga Valley. November 2010, witnesses describes possible vocalization near Bath, Ohio. Bath, Ohio, interesting little side note. On Monday night, I did a thing about serial haunts. And one of the people I was talking about was Jeffrey Dahmer, who has a house in Bath, Ohio. Or had a house, whatever. Uh, anyways, June 2011. Daylight sighting behind a home in Cuyahoga Valley National Park. And May 2013, homeowner observes two tall figures walking single file near the Cuyahoga National Park. A lot in Cuyahoga area. That is pretty amazing, actually. Alright, well, I'm not going to go into too much more because we've only got about 3 minutes left. Let's see. Let's see, what other county should I do? Let's do Medina. This goes all the way back. They don't have all the reports, like, ever. They just have some. But this is from September of 1976. This is a Class A report of a childhood encounter just outside of Wadsworth, Ohio. Fall of 1978, Class B, sighting by motorist along Poe Road. September of 92, driver encounters an unknown hairy biped just outside of Medina. October 2000, a possible sighting of the River Styx monster crossing a small clearing. September 2001, a young teen sees a hairy creature on the family farm while riding his bike. That was a Class A. Another Class A from May 2003, a man standing on his back porch watches a large hair-covered creature run down the railroad tracks and jump down into the brush. In June 2013, Class B, woman is startled after seeing a face with yellow eyes peering into her kitchen window near Valley City. Now that one you may remember if you ever watch the show Finding Bigfoot, because they actually covered that particular account. So awesome stuff. So we're going to come back for part two tonight. We're going to do a little Q&A. Uh, so any